the fun with the PLCs. So here with the PLC, we're just going to get started by going ahead and creating a manufacturer's part and then some modules. Right here, I've got just a couple that are set up that are based off of just some standard downloads that I have added. So I'm going to add this first module. I'm going to add two more. I'm going to add an input card and an output card just to give it some more flexibility here, but be able to show more of this to you. Now, the first part of this is to realize that with each of these manufacturer's parts, these first two fields, the card's position in the slot, are normally populated by the PLC. They can also come from the manufacturer's part. When you are bringing it from the manufacturer's part, you have to be careful because, of course, you want that flexibility from the software, so you don't want it overwritten. And go into the circuits and terminals. I can see that for any specific input or output, I have this area here for a physical address. This I normally set up when I am first creating this part in the library so that I have it available for use with the formula when we are using that component value, the component values, and with the physical address field for the formula. The next part, of course, is the fact that you have this formula. Now, the formula, of course, people look for it and say, okay, I don't know how to quite make this work. Well, let me tell you that the first thing I do is I go into these variables and simple formulas. And I am going to use the PLC manufacturer's part address from the physical address. And I'll show you where this is coming from. It's actually coming from the physical address of the manufacturer's part. So I created in that part an N00 and an N01 as the physical part. And then what I'm going to do here is just take the left first variable or the left first digit of whatever that said. So instead of N00, it's going to take the I. And it's now going to add this colon. And where the second part is coming from is notice that the variables match up between this set here from the manufacturer's data in the manager or the formula, also into the properties. So card's position is component value 1, index for I is component value 3, Q index is component value 4. Because the first two positions are always populated by the PLC, I am going to start using component value 3 so that I can control, because you've probably got those devices when you are dropping in of, say, a card position of maybe it's 2, but it's split between inputs and outputs, and you want it to actually be number 2 as far as your I/O. So you want to be able to have that flexibility, and by you controlling it using this component value 3, you will then be able to utilize whatever you put in for that. And then here what I am doing is taking the right side of my PLC physical address, but I'm taking the last 2 digits on the right. So when I test this out, if my physical address in my manufacturer's part is input, or actually N02, and then I'm going to type in a value, say maybe the card is position number 3. By doing this, notice that in the results, I actually see the outcome that I am looking for. So this looks pretty good. I'll go ahead now and process this into my PLC, but I want to make sure that I save this formula. Normally you could always do the Control-C if you wanted to, but hitting the Save Formula, it's going to bring it up for you so that you have it now available in other modules when you start adding them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say OK to update that manufacturer's part. And now if you notice, my originals were set up for that N00, but I'm going to go ahead and type in this first module 04. I'm going to add that specific formula that I just created. And now when I do, you will notice that that 04 is then allowed to be in this physical address. So that's the first part of this, is that by being able to do this, you can do this in the PLC manager. I have found you can actually do it in 2018 in component properties without actually even getting into the manager. So that makes it even more flexible there. You don't have to worry when you generate those drawings that you can go ahead and look at any specific device, and just by simply highlighting that symbol, you can then go ahead and change that value on the fly. And when you change it on the fly, the variable is then going to change, the formula is actually going to change right away. So here I'm going to do it through component properties instead. I have found in past versions that you could not do this. You actually had to do it in the PLC manager. In 2018, they did fix that, where you can actually do that now without having to create or to go into that PLC manager to do any further editing.